Hello, my people. How are you? Well, I am excited to be talking to Shakira Taylor. So, as you know, in the community, boy, do I know this. We are always talking about the big M word, menopause. And as you lot all know, I can't remember anything. I'm so surprised my twins can get all money out of me because I'll say, didn't I give you that before? They're like, no, I couldn't remember anyway. But let's get down to this conversation. And I am so excited to welcome Shakira to the stage. But you lot know she's going to have to introduce herself. So, Shakira, welcome.
Hi, we finally
Hey.
got
Well, Shakira, you know this has been a long time coming, hasn't it? You know
that.
we've always been trying to meet this lady. Honestly, I think she lives out of the country more than she lives here. I tell ya.
I'm here now, unfortunately.
So tell us I hate titles, but what's your title? What do you do? And let us know
Okay,
about yourself.
I'll try and keep it brief. So, yes, I'm Shakira Taylor. As you can see, I've got my work top on. Fitness with
Oh,
Shakira. That's my business. Always got to have that little bit of branding.
yes,
But
that's what we like.
yes, especially when you're a one-woman show. So I'm a personal trainer and a women's wellness coach. Sometimes people do refer to me as menopause coach, but I mean, I look at women's wellness overall. Obviously, menopause is a massive part of what I do because I'm in perimenopause myself, and the women I work with are either perimenopause or postmenopause. But I really try and look at women's wellness as a whole. And I've been a PT since going to say 2015. The reason why you can
Wow.
see the hula hoop there, I still do hula hooping, but that was my first fitness passion, was hula hooping or hula fitness. So I did
Wow.
hula hoop. So I was very well known in the fitness industry for hula hooping. Still there now, but I've kind of moved away from that as my business has transitioned more into the coaching, and obviously still doing personal training. So that's a little bit about me. And as you can hear, I am from East London.
Oh, yes, easy now. This south, east, north, west, I tell you, I'm not from London originally, so I don't really care where you're from in
Okay.
London. So I don't have those loyalties. But I hear you on that one. So me, I'm post menopause. So
You're at the other
um
side.
yeah, so I started my menopausal journey at 45. So yes, it was an interesting thing because you know what? I used to laugh at my mum with her fan and all of these kinds of stuff, and I used to laugh. And then when it's your turn, not laughing anymore because
Oh,
it's like my word. And I know everybody personally has their own thing on what is the big thing for them. And even though the hot flushes were annoying for me, it was the foggy brain for
mm,
me, which was the biggest thing. Yeah, it just was really bad for me. I just didn't remember anything, like even like sometimes what I had for breakfast, you're like, and I remember one time I said I couldn't remember my mum's birthday and I burst into tears because I just, something that and I just couldn't remember it. Um, but I know that the journey is such a personal one, but it's just, I think the lack of understanding is sometimes annoying, you
definitely.
know. And I think for those of us who have husbands and partners, it can be really difficult for them because
Mm,
it's like when you go for the menopause, I believe the whole family goes through it, it's not just
definitely.
you. Um, so I mean, I suppose I decided it was a personal decision not to take HRT. I
Oh,
just felt like I naturally wanted to go through whatever this journey was on.
I just say I think that's a little bit unfair to say that HRT is not a natural way, and I think there's a lot of
Interesting.
yeah, definitely, because I am pro HRT. I don't force anyone, obviously, and you've got to look at your family history and you've got to look at how your symptoms impact you. But the reason why I don't like it when people say it's not natural. With HRT, you're just putting back the hormones that you're losing. As far as I'm concerned, that's probably the most natural thing you can do, because
Oh, and
when
it's so funny because my thing, if menopause, it's something that we naturally start to lose certain things. I think that's for me the natural process of what my body is going
say it
through.
depends to the amount that you're losing, though. Like for me, it's been detrimental, the way my
Mm,
erratic. So I think the HRT is not a magic wand, and people need to know that. Like, for example, HRT hasn't helped my hot flushes, because my hot
right.
flushes with something outside of what's going on with my hormones. And I think that's where a lot of women there's a lot of misconception about the benefits of HRT, what it can do, what it can't do, because a lot of it is, like I said earlier, about the overall well-being and
Yeah.
well,
Mm,
because no matter how people don't want to accept it, it is to do with what you eat. It's to do with how you move. It's to do with how you manage your sleep. It's to do with how you manage your stress. So even if you are whacking on the HRT, if you're not looking at those 4 fundamental areas, you are going to struggle. So I think, I mean, it's everyone's opinion, but it upsets me a little bit when people are like, oh, well, if you're taking HRT, you're not doing it the natural way. Well, you are, because you're naturally still going through menopause. Your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, it's still going to decline even with the HRT. But you make that choice of how bad are your symptoms and how are they related to, is it your estrogen, is it your progesterone, is it your testosterone? So I take testosterone and I take the hormone replacement therapy, because I was not going to suffer, especially when it came to dry vagina, low libido, feeling crap, not being able to
mm,
lift up the weights when I'm in the gym. And that's just because I needed a little bit of testosterone.
mm,
And
mm,
now
mm,
I'm not
mm.
saying my symptoms are completely gone, because as you know, with the menopause journey, you're like, oh, I've got this under control, then bang, and next
Yeah.
symptom comes along. So it's just trying to weigh up how detrimental to your life are those symptoms. If HRT is a safe option for you, I just feel like women need to do a lot more research around it, because the multiple benefits in my eyes outweigh thinking, oh, I'm not doing it naturally. And especially, like, it'd be interesting to hear, if you're postmenopause, are you still experiencing symptoms? Because again, that's a lot of misconception. Women think, oh, once my period stops for the year, that's it, I'm not going to have symptoms anymore. I've worked with people where actually their symptoms have got worse, because then they've had that rapid drop in their sex hormones and they're like on the floor. I know women that when they were perimenopause, they didn't take HRT, but it got so bad postmenopausal with the hormones just being non-existent that they're like, right, I need that extra support. Like how you take supplements. I mean, there's people popping supplements all over the place and they don't even know what those supplements are doing, because supplements are meant to supplement what you're missing in your diet, not just I'm going to take everything that they're labeling. I mean, I think if anything, that sometimes could be an unnatural way that you're labeling these things as menopause supplements and they're not even
Mm,
beneficial for women. So
mm.
it's really confusing. I feel, even as a professional, it's a very confusing space at the moment, because you've got so
It
many
is.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've got so many, and you're having so many messages bombarded at
every if,
at you. Whereas for me, um, and maybe the choice of words, I just wanted to go through what I went through. You know what I
yeah, and
mean? I just wanted to go through it, whatever, up and down, whatever. I just wanted to go through it.
yeah,
Um, and but whereas my good girlfriend, her hot flushes and her night sweats were so bad, she's had to replace her mattress twice, and she would wake up in a pool of water. Do you know what I
she's
mean?
she's still experiencing that.
Yeah, I didn't go through that. Then she went on to HRT because she said she just couldn't
And has it
function.
helped?
Yes, it has.
Has it stopped
So
her hot?
for her, no, they haven't gone completely, but she doesn't wake up in a
Oh,
pool of water, or
yeah,
you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. It's such a personal journey.
it
Whereas
is.
for me, I did get the hot flushes quite bad, but foggy brain for me, because my brain, I'm very, it was terrible. I was like, I don't remember the most basic of things. And I remember one time, and I was very emotional. For me,
Yeah,
I was very
it's
emotional.
frustrating as well, isn't it? When
Oh
you
my God. I remember my poor partner, I said to him, "Oh, can you get something down from the shelf for me?" Because I mean, I'm not sure, but it was really high. And he said, "Oh, I'll do it for you in a minute, babes." I just went absolutely gaga. Honestly, Shakira, it was just, and he just looked at me and said, "What happened?
you're
What?" And I'm like, and even I was looking at myself thinking, "What happened? Why
yeah,
did I just have this outburst
outburst.
of emotions?" I was very emotional.
It happens though. It really, and sometimes it catches you off guard when it
Oh,
happens as well. When you think everything's okay this day, and then you just feel this kind of, I don't know. It's a bit like the hot flushes, just this rising of emotions. And but it's hard, because if we think about, our hormones are fluctuating all over the place. It's no wonder that one day we feel okay, and then the next day, things ain't so great. Oh, I haven't got motivation. Oh, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. Because you're fluctuating, and I think that's what's not spoken about enough. So, and
yes,
it's different
yes.
for everyone. I have met some women, very few, that are like, I got hot one day and then my period stopped, and then if it was okay, I'm like, who are you? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
unicorns that they just had a few symptoms, and
I
but
know.
everyone's
Yeah,
different, aren't
yeah.
they? And even those people, I think more women should talk about that, because what I've seen, I don't know how you found it on social media, there's this kind of like division between, I'm got all these symptoms and I'm a trooper because I'm battling through, and you're suffering and detrimental to your health along the process. But I've really got to suffer because that's what my mum went through. That's what my nan went through.
Yeah, ridiculous. To me, I think it's, like I said, it's so personal. If I had such extreme, you like some of my, I may have gone on to HRT. I don't
Yeah, or,
know.
or other alternatives. There are
Yeah,
other
that's what I'm saying.
alternatives.
I would have looked at something, you know what I mean?
Mm,
But was, I would say middle, but I was okay. Even though some days you think, oh, yes,
yeah,
this is terrible, but I was okay. And I mean,
yeah.
I didn't have when I went to see the doctor, he said, when was your last period? I said, "Oh, about 2 years ago." He was like, "Oh,
Ah,
yeah." Uh, so I haven't had a period in a lot 8 years. I haven't had it for a long time. I haven't
yeah,
had a period and stuff
yeah.
like that. So
So how
that
was
to me, because I used to have such bad
ah
period pains, I used to suffer with so much. That to me was like, woo! Honestly to God.
And then in terms of symptoms, then, now that you're 8 years post-menopause, where are you at with your symptoms?
Fine. The only thing I get an occasional, hot, but nothing major.
Yeah, yeah.
And I still get a little bit of foggy brain. But other than that, nothing.
Ah, that's good. These are the stories that I want to hear, because I'm
Yeah.
like, can't wait to get to the other
Yeah,
side.
yeah, no, yeah. I'm pretty good.
Well, I'm 3 years. So I started perimenopause relatively young, 39.
Oh
But I was
wow.
diagnosed at 40, only because I pushed for it and pushed for it. And I'm now 43. So I'm 3 years perimenopause. Definitely still going through it. Don't know about my periods because I use the Marina coil, and I used that before
Yeah, yeah.
started perimenopause anyway. So you don't typically, well, you have like
Mm.
a slight bleed, but it's not a full cycle. But I know I've still got my cycles. So I'm like, how many years is this going to be now? Because it can be up to 12 years. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
they say, yeah. And I think, and these are kind of the information that a lot of people don't know. It can be a long time that you're and the thing is, I went to a doctor once, I must admit, and when I said, she said she doesn't believe, she went
hmm,
to the doctor, said she doesn't believe in
very,
pre-menopausal. She says,
yeah.
yeah, it's just, you have your menopausal, she was like, no, don't believe in it.
I mean, my personal opinion, obviously, I'm not a doctor, but
Yeah.
just from my own experience and, the courses I've done and research and people I've spoken to, for most women, perimenopause is the most, I don't want to say traumatic because I don't want to scare people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, not traumatic, but yeah, traumatic. No, 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 no.
For me, at times, it definitely felt traumatic. My symptoms, I've probably gone through nearly all of them at the moment, but that's also because I've got polycystic ovaries, and
Mm,
I was managing that fine. But it's like as soon as I went into perimenopause, it kind of, I don't know how to explain this. It's like it flared up my PCOS without me realizing.
wow.
And I
Yeah.
do believe that's why I've had so many different symptoms. And again, that's something that's not spoken about. If you've got underlying health conditions, you really, this is one thing that I preach about a lot now because I've gone through it the harder way. You really need to get them sorted out as much as you can so that you can prepare your body, you can prepare your mind for perimenopause, or even if you're in it, then you can prepare yourself because it, like I said, PCOS has a massive impact on my perimenopause journey, in particular, like with the hot flushes, the weight gain, the bloating, the extra hair, and all different symptoms. So I know there are a lot of women that are dealing with conditions, and if that's not been dealt with, then it will impact your menopause journey as well. But everyone is completely different, and we need, I'm sure you've seen, the education for doctors is changing. So this isn't
No,
me having
yeah,
no
it's needed
excuse.
because they don't even really cover it, a lot of them. They
They
never used to.
And I had a pretty tough, I don't know if you can imagine, turning up at 39. And it was like when we were coming out of the last lockdown. So I think my first consultation was over the phone. And I was like, okay, I believe I'm in perimenopause, which I'd never heard that word before. And they were like, oh, have you been on Google? You're 39. Yeah, I know.
Patronising.
It was and it was a female GP, my first one. Oh, you're too young, you're too this, you're too that. I was like, no, 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 send me for the test. Then I don't know if you've had the blood test. The day that I got tested, my hormones were like, we're going to behave today. So it came back. And I think this is what happens to a lot of women. You have that hormonal blood test. That day, everything's okay. So then they turn around and said to me, see, you're not in perimenopause. You just, they put it down to lockdown and stuff like that. I was like, no,
Yeah, but
something.
we know our body, isn't it? That's the one thing I always say to women. You know your body, and if it doesn't feel right or something, I would like you push, push, push.
It's hard, isn't it? Because I think it does depend on your self-esteem and your confidence as well.
And
And
it depends on also your GP, like you said. Sometimes
yeah,
you can get a really good understanding doctor will be like, okay, I know this woman, I know that she knows her body. If she's saying there's something, and then you get the ones like yours, the first one.
yeah.
Yes, patronizing.
So, but especially being told that you're too young, because again, this is a big misconception around what age you can start perimenopause. And I think backtracking now, I possibly think I may have had symptoms around 37, but I didn't even know that was going on. And that was like, I had like what I say my symptoms were then was like, I was feeling angry a lot and I didn't know why. So that was one of the reasons why I went on the Marina coil, because I do feel it helps like level out my mood. But now backtracking, I'm like, oh my gosh, that could have been a symptom. Who knows?
Mm,
You never really
mm.
know, do you? But definitely keep a diary, know your body, and just know that it might be menopause, it might not. But I think for a lot of women, just start to engage in the conversation. Like, even if your mum, I mean, they say it goes on like, the family history, and my mum had a pretty terrible menopause, so it's probably no surprise that mine hasn't been that great. But then I know people where their mum had a great one and then they're having a terrible one, so really
Mm.
hard. But there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and I know for me, when it first started, like I said, I got dismissed by the first doctor, went back again, and they were like, all right, we'll do more blood tests. And then I was like, I went onto social media, I was like, there's got to be women that sound like me, that look like me. And I was like, there's no one, especially, well, I'm mixed race, I was like, there's no one that's younger, so to speak, talking about perimenopause. Like, what is going on? I mean, it's changed a lot now.
Yeah, it has.
Like,
Mm.
you used to Google menopause, and the first image that will come up, and this is no disrespect, it would be like a white woman with grey hair. She'd probably wearing like a purple cardigan, even though that's my favorite color. And she'd be like,
Purple cardigan. I mean, I'm not even going to get into you about what's with the purple cardigan, but
yeah.
anyway.
But it'd be like a white one with great hair, and she'd be like this, and like really stressed out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's changed now. When you Google menopause, there's a lot more diversity, and it's about diversity of color, yes, but of age and
Yeah,
of
and that's a really key point. And also,
hair.
with black women and women of black heritage, there are certain nuances with them in regards to menopause. And I think that's something that we have to also recognize. And I mean, I've been discussing with some of the myCaroline sisters about, well, it's a new term, but it's something that I've discussed many times, but it's called weathering. And that is how black women and women of black heritage, that whether it's racism, intersectionality, all of these stuff that we have to deal with, how it sits in our body and creates
Mhm.
and causes physical and mental health issues.
I
And
agree.
that also has a huge impact on menopause that people don't even recognize. So I do think our journeys do have a nuance compared to,
One
a Caucasian woman.
and there's still what I'm happy to see it's only like beginning. There's still research being done around in particular black women, but also Asian women. So generally from the research I've seen, we tend to experience perimenopause for longer,
Mm-hmm.
more symptoms. So it's like, what is going on? Why? And it maybe it is like you said, it's like I was saying about underlying health conditions. I think as well, just those societal issues that black women and women of black heritage,
Go through,
suffer.
yeah.
And definitely when I was speaking to someone the other day and they were like, surely it's not like that when you go to the GP. And I was like, yes, you are
Yes, it
just
is.
as a woman of color when you go to the GP, because what else is also interesting to that I found out that black women in particular are not typically offered HRT as an option.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's all about this, we're
Yeah.
strong, we can deal with it, all of this kind of stuff. Like,
Oh, that
I'm
just
like I
gave
said,
me
it wasn't my choice, but for
yeah.
a lot of my friends, hell yes, they were like, give me some HRT. But what I think was a good point that you've raised is nothing really, to be honest, not just the menopause, is in isolation.
Yes.
So I think it would be great for you to talk about, people need to look at their diet. There could be certain plants or vegetables or whatever it is that could actually help with the symptoms. And it's about
Mhm.
being aware of that. We have to just look at our life as a whole, 360 degrees.
We
So,
do.
it is maybe okay, you might not want to go to the gym, but maybe go for a morning walk or an afternoon walk or whatever is good for you. It might
Yeah.
be looking at your diet. Do I have a diet that's high in salt and all of these stuff? I think, and it's about being, as I say to all the sisters on the platform, it's about being honest with yourself.
Yes, you do. Like, oh, my friends hate it when I say this line, but I'm like, speak of love, but it's excuses or results. And that definitely, when it comes to menopause, you have to decide. I know for me, especially the hot flushes, I can't even explain, just thinking back to them now, they were crippling. There was one day I had 22 hot flushes in one day. I nearly passed out. It was just, and I was on HRT, so I couldn't
Wow.
understand. But luckily, I got last year I was part of a case study for a conference. It's the Pause Live conference. And I was part of a case study, and I got matched with this amazing, amazing company. I have to give them a shout out. They're called
Please
Woman
do.
Wise. So they're called Woman Wise, and
Mm.
they give you they do your DNA. So you do a swab in your mouth. They do your you give a sample of blood, you give urine, and they really dive into what could be your underlying health conditions as to why you're
Wow.
symptoms. And definitely for me, this is why I was saying like my PCOS kind of popped up again. It turned out that I was insulin resistant, which is very common for PCOS, but it's also quite common for women that are transitioning through menopause. The way your body, I guess the simplest way of describing it is the way your body processes carbs changes. And this is why you start to see the bloating, the hot flushes, that middle weight gain. So imagine
Yeah,
I'm
the bloating and the middleweight I tell everybody, Lord have mercy, the tire needs to go.
it is difficult, but that's when you've really, because imagine I was exercising, so it wasn't anything to do with my fitness, so to speak, but it was what I was eating. So I know for me now, because I've got insulin resistance and I wanted to get rid of those hot flushes, it's 3 high protein meals a day, and I don't really eat any carbohydrates. Now, just I want to put something in there. I wouldn't normally advocate that kind of behavior, but if you're suffering with insulin resistance, eating carbs is not going to work for you, as in,
Yeah,
like
'cause it
French
just
fries, pasta.
yeah, because
Yeah.
everybody, well, I shouldn't assume, but for those of you who don't know, carbs, it changes into sugar. It's just not great. So that is something that you need to really think about. I mean, funny enough, there's a product that I've been taking which has a carbs and sugar blocker, and it's a natural plant.
Oh,
So there's things, that's what I'm saying, it's a good to talk, because there's things that we can try and do for ourselves that will help us, and it's all about having those conversations. Now, I've not eaten meat for a very long time, from I was very young. Um, most of my diet is, well, it used to be completely just plants,
mhm,
and then I was advised, because of other health conditions I have, to have some sort of, whether it's a fish, even if you have it once, just something. But
mm,
my main diet is plants. And it was really researching what plants are best to help what symptoms. And so I just went on this whole learning journey, and it was really interesting. And it was about changing my diet, because guess what? Everybody, I love a bread. Lord have mercy. I love a bread. But guess what? Bread has reduced. I don't have bread that much anymore,
yeah,
and I don't have a high carbs diet at all, because for me, the way my body reacts to it is not good for me. So
yeah,
I do think it's about people being honest, and there's things that we do on the myCaroline platform, like you can get a body scan, and
mhm,
that is so amazing, because it will tell you stuff like, this is in your body, you've got these parasites, this is that, and it really helps you to look at, again, your body, everything. And it does one about your mental, what's going on
mm,
mentally, and your moods. And it will say, well, the reason why you're eating this is because your mood's like this, and this is what you're craving to help with your mood.
and that's where supplements can play a role, because for some
Well, yeah.
work, and again, like with the test that I had done, I was like I was getting confused with all these different supplements. So they were like, just stop taking everything, let's see where you're at. And it's really making sure that, are you actually deficient in that? Because I think I've spoke to so many women, and they're like taking 15 different supplements, and it's like, do you need that? Do you need this? I mean, I would say in general, for most menopausal women, so whether you're perimenopause or post, magnesium, you can't go wrong with that. Especially if you're anything like me, I was getting crippling pins and needles, and I didn't know where that had come from. So magnesium is generally a safe one for most women. Vitamin D, because we ain't got enough sunshine in the country. And especially, black women, mixed race women, Asian women, we need that vitamin D supplement. And that's good, because the lack of sun, it's going to help with your bones. So I would always say those are two safe ones that most women can take. And especially vitamin D, there's a massive link towards how that improves your mood, which isn't spoken about enough. So most women, maybe if they started supplementing vitamin D, maybe with a bit of K2, they would start to see their mood definitely improving. But it's like I was saying before, you've got to decide, how bad are your symptoms? Are they impacting your life? Are you then willing to, I'm not saying you've got to stop drinking alcohol, but definitely alcohol doesn't help when you're transitioning through. And look at, different alcohol choices. Definitely look at your diet. It's that reality of, when I eat this, how do I feel sometimes a few hours later, or how do I feel the next day? And
Mm.
in the toilet will demonstrate as well. Like, I know for me, over the weekend, I kind of went off track, so to speak. I had a few things. Then for like 2 days, I was just having hot flushes. And that was just because I had like a brownie one day, I had fish and chips one day, and then I had a donut. So I wasn't completely off track, but just those three things and a little bit of alcohol as well. Then I had hot flushes for like 2 or 3 days after that. I knew, because I'd spiked my insulin. So it's like, when I'm doing them things, I know, okay, the next few days, I got my fan back out. I knew I was going to feel a bit flushy, but that's where you have to get to and deciding. So you've got to decide how badly you want to manage
Yeah,
your
yeah,
symptoms.
yeah.
if like, in the workplace and you're lacking that motivation and, exercise, obviously I am going to mention it, even though everyone's like,
Well,
no.
listen, let me give you a joke. So I went to a wellness day on Sunday just gone,
Oh,
and it
lovely.
was yoga, breath work. We had a sound bath, all of these stuff.
Oh,
Missy, my God. I don't know. I mean, I know, but all I know is, you realize how by not, you know, I'm just when I say I'm fit because I do some working out and I do walking a lot. I'm a walking person, like fast, brisk
fantastic.
walking. Yeah, my sister used to be a PT and all that, and all of my personal trainers have said actually brisk walking is better for you than even running,
Oh,
and the way that it burns the calories and it's better for your knees, all of this kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I don't not go to the gym or anything like that. But yoga, it's been a lot more flexible and really working on some of
mm.
all I can say the next year, Lord have mercy.
Or it
But
might be
you
the day
know,
after that.
honestly, but you know what though? I'm gonna stick with it. So every
Mm,
Sunday at 8:30, I'm gonna go to yoga because as much as it was like the next day, I felt better for it in a weird way.
yeah,
So
yoga
I'm
has
going to
transformative.
continue with the yoga and my walking and all the other stuff. And sometimes these things, it's baby steps. People always think I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna do this. No, be realistic. I
Yeah,
think everything is, do it at a gradual thing. Otherwise, you don't keep it up, do you?
yeah. I mean, what I say to most women, like, say if I was just starting to work with someone, for me personally, the first thing to look at is your sleep. Because
Well, that's so important. That's when we heal.
if you're
People don't
sleep,
understand how important it is.
definitely, because there's so many mixed messaging happening around menopause. But if your sleep is buggered, so to speak, you're going to find it hard the next day to go to the gym, to go for a walk, to have the right food choices.
And the right mindset because you're tired.
Exactly. So if you can really try and work on your sleep, because it is about doing those small things. Once you start to get your sleep, it hasn't got to be 100% perfect, 100, all the time, but it's about, creating the right environment to sleep in always helps. When I say
And then
that,
always, as what I tell everybody, which I recently did a whole video on, is about we just are bombarded every day.
yeah,
Yeah.
these
And I
things,
say to people, that you need to come off your mobiles, all of devices, 2 hours
yeah,
before. And I say, right, let's start. Even if you can't do 2 hours,
half
start with
an
an hour. Start with an hour before, but
yeah,
your mind needs to be emptied of all of this. I just call it
noise.
noise. It's
Yeah,
too much,
it is
you
way
know?
too much. It is
Yeah.
a common thing I find with women, not being sexist, if there are any guys that watch, but women tend to, maybe it might get to, I don't know, 8, 9 o'clock, even 10 o'clock. And it's like, oh, let me just quickly tidy up. Oh, let me just do some ironing. If you're running around the house and then getting into bed and you're like, oh, why can't I sleep? You've just been doing all this activity. It's like, I say to a lot of women, try not to do, especially high intensity exercise 2 hours before bed. I know some people, they have to go to evening classes or they have to work out in the gym in the evening. But if you're exercising and really going at it with your body like an hour before bed, your cortisol is going to be up here.
Up the
It's
head, yes.
hard for it to. So if you feel like you need to do exercise before bed, maybe go for a walk, do some yoga, that kind of thing. But if we're trying to cram in so much before bedtime, then when we get in bed, we're on our phones. We're not going
Yeah,
to
it's
sleep
not
in
good.
that.
And also as well, I must admit, I am a big fan of meditation. I never used to be. I used to think it was a load of poo-poo.
Me
I'd be
too.
like, what is this? I was just
I for
count
that.
me out, mate. Count me out. But you know what? In my house, I get up at 5:30 because it's the one time when it's
Oh,
quiet.
yeah.
I do my 20 minutes of meditate and it sets me up for the day. And
Yeah,
I do meditation just before I go just to calm my mind, be
yeah.
still, do a little bit of breath work. But let me tell you guys, it's a process, it's a journey. I started off with doing just 5-minute meditations because I
Yes.
couldn't do it. I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, like
Or, you know, like even a great starting point, I think even removing, I know it sounds a bit silly, but even removing the word meditation to begin with, what I say to a lot of people is just have 5 minutes in the morning, just before
obvious.
everyone else wakes up, not looking at your phone, you know, go to the toilet, have a cup of hot water or just a glass of water so that, you know, water is the first thing you consume. Even if you haven't got a garden, just 5 minutes looking out the window. No TV, no news, no phone, no
No,
kids,
nothing.
no,
Just time
even
with yourself.
even if you can't do five, everyone can do 5 minutes. Even if you've got 10 kids, I mean, I know that can be challenging, but do you know what I mean? Like, even how busy your household is, you can find 5 minutes, or even if you have to stay in the bathroom for 5 minutes. I've had some people say, if I go in the kitchen, they'll hear me. So
Mhm.
it's like, you know, but just even starting with that consistently, then you can work it up to, oh, maybe I could make it 7 minutes now, and maybe I could
Yeah,
just,
it's a
you know,
process. It's a
different
process.
locations. Yeah, and just think, especially for us menopausal women, sometimes you wake up and you're like, what day is it even?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, trust me. Yeah, I just left my friend and she was like, "Is it is it Monday?" I said, "No."
it's Wednesday
She
already.
said, "It's yeah," and she was like, "What?"
I
She was
know.
just all over the place, you know, and she says that's for her, foggy brain is just killing her and hot flushes, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting maybe for the hot flushes. There is definitely a lot of science behind this insulin resistance, and you know, looking at. I know for me, like I said, I got to the peak where it was 22 in one day. It was so bad. Then when I started working with Women Wise, literally 5 days of changing my diet, I've probably got down to like 4 or 5 hot flushes.
Wow, that's a
And
big
then over
difference.
time, so now I know for me to have a hot flush, it's either I've had, like I said, the example over the weekend, or if I find I'm really, really stressed, which is normally caused by the public transport being late. If I'm in a real stressful situation, then I'll find a flush come on. But how it used to be, like, say if this was a year ago, I've still have my fan, like I've literally got PTSD. I've still got my fan there because I'm like, maybe it might just come. But if I'd have been sat here a year ago, it would have started. Like I couldn't even
Yeah.
have a fringe a year ago because the sweating was just, especially from my head. I mean, I've got a lot of hair, that doesn't help, but well, I'm happy I've got a lot of hair. But the sweating from my head and that rising heat, I know what it's
Oh,
like.
oh
It's
yeah.
really detrimental to your health. And then especially like I'd be online presenting to like 80 people talking about menopause in the workplace. And I'd be like, I'm actually having a hot flush now. So this is what it's like. And it is really, I feel for your friend, but there are things that she can do. And sometimes it's not always HRT that helps with hot flushes. And again, this is what it's about. You've got to do your research. You have to educate yourself because, you know, people will be saying one thing. And I think it's a bit of trial and error as well, finding the right routine that works for you. But, you know, there are those cornerstones that every woman can do: nutrition, sleep, moving, get that protein in, ladies. That high protein is so, so important.
And for those people who don't know what you mean by high protein, give an example.
So, for example, a good starting point, I say, especially is if you're perimenopause or postmenopause, you want to look at around 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. So if you think about your three main meals, that's going to get you up to say like 90 grams of protein. Then maybe if you are having snacks, I mean, I don't snack, but if you are snacking, then maybe add in like 10 here, 10 there. So that might get you up to 120. But in an ideal world, or 110, because my maths is terrible, in an ideal world, depending on what you weigh, say you weigh 70 kg, you want to be at minimum eating 70 kg of protein a day. So it's 1 gram of protein per 1 kg you weigh. If you
Oh
start to
wow.
add how active you are, if you want to lose weight, gain weight, if you want to lose weight, you want to be up in that to like 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kg you weigh. So in the beginning, it is a shock for a lot of people. I try to aim, in an ideal world, I try and get around 150 grams of protein a day, but
Wow.
only 3 meals. So it can be challenging, especially if you're not a meat eater. I'll be honest, it's a little bit more challenging. But in general, I would say, so like I was born in 81. What I found with women that are born in like the 70s and the 80s, you know, and I was victim to it as well. these low fat diets that were shoved at us. And the problem with low fat is that your protein is going to be low and your calcium is going to be low. So, and this is why we see, unfortunately, quite a few women with, osteoporosis, fractures, this, that, and the other, because that constant decline in your protein and low fat and not enough calcium, the impact it has on your bone health. So this is why I'm all about, we need to up our protein. It's really, even if you're still eating carbs, that's fine. But most women, especially, like I say, those born in like 70s and 80s, are not eating enough protein because they're scared it's going to, make them get bulky. And you're not going to get bulky. And there's nothing wrong with getting bulky, by the way, but you're not going to get bulky unless you train to become bulky. And generally what you find when you eat enough protein, you're fuller for longer and your cravings reduce. So it really does.
Mm.
And again, there's different ways that you can get protein, especially if you don't eat meat. But there's, if you look into the research around having enough protein, it really changes for a lot of women once they start consuming enough, and they feel more energy, you feel lighter. If you want to lose weight, you lose weight. If you want to gain weight, you can gain weight. But it's a real good stepping stone for most women to just look at, are you eating enough protein? And most of the time they're not, which is a shame. But I know
Wow.
why, because we've had this low fat,
Yeah, it's been shoved down us. Yeah.
and I've done all of them diets, believe me. Special K, Weight Watchers, Slimming World, I've done all of them, so I know what I'm talking about, and they are detrimental to your health and to your mental health as well. So again,
Mm.
it's just that, and you will, if you go on social media, you're seeing now this trend towards protein. I will just say, be mindful of the protein products in the supermarkets, like, the protein yogurts and bars and drinks and all these things that say they're high protein. Because if you turn around and look at the ingredients, they've got loads of stuff that you can't even pronounce. So you want to try and get your protein from whole food sources, no matter if you're vegan, vegetarian, or a meat eater, because they're great if as an addition, but you really want to be getting it from food and from plants as well. It's
Mm.
not, you
Mm.
can get protein from plants. So again, it's taking yourself on that education and educating yourself and going on that journey and deciding, do I want to change my nutrition so that I'm going to feel better about myself? Generally, once you change your nutrition, you're going to have more energy. Then you'll start to think like, actually, I wouldn't mind doing a bit of exercise. So it's kind of like a stepping stone. Start with that sleep, look at the nutrition, then look at your exercise, I would say.
So I was going to just about to ask you, because I know the time art my time with you is getting to the end.
We're okay
What?
with 10
Yeah,
minutes.
I'm telling you to go quicker. You're just a chatting it. So I would say, what three key things would be the takeaways that you would leave our audience with?
I think definitely keep a diary would be my first thing, and try to get specific with a diary. So, as in, like, is it your symptoms that you're tracking? Is it about your sleep? Is it you ate something and then you realize, oh, I did have bloating, and what time of the day? Because timings are quite key as well. For some women, they can't eat late at night now for whatever reason. So, definitely keep a diary, check in with yourself physically and mentally, because I think that's really overlooked. Once you've kept that diary, then make a decision would probably be my next top tip. Like I said earlier, I know people hate it, excuses or results. Do you want to make that change? How badly do you need to make that change? And then you can start to look at a plan and really tackle your sleep. I do say to people, if you start to tackle your sleep, those other things will start to fall in place. In my head, how I see it work with myself and people I work with, tackle the sleep, then you're like, oh, I've got more energy. I feel a bit clearer in my head. I can start to make better food choices. Once you consistently start to make those better food choices, you'll start to feel like, maybe I feel like I've got more energy. I might feel a bit lighter. I can think about, getting to the gym or doing a home workout. And it doesn't have to be the gym. But one thing I would say about exercise is you do have to strength train. There's no getting out of it, whether it's you do body weight, you do weights at home, you go to the gym. The gym is not a scary place, ladies. Once you know what you're doing, the gym is really not a scary place. It's actually a very empowering place, and a place where you can really work on your confidence and your mindset that will help you in everything else you're doing. But we need to incorporate that strength training, because for women, our muscle mass loss is at a higher rate than men. And we want to, I say to everyone, you want to be able to get off the toilet by yourself, get out of chairs by yourself. We don't want all this reclining nonsense. If you eat enough protein, you've got enough calcium, and you lift weights, you won't need to be reclined out of anything. Obviously, if you have an accident, that's different. But for a lot of women, if we build our strength, we stand to live a lot longer life, and it's the best aging remedy. Forget, each of their own what you want to pump and pop, but if you strength train, that's one of the best aging tools that you've got, because it's about that longevity in life and quality of life as well. I could talk about strength training all day.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll have you on another time, and I'm gonna be offering, one day you'll come on, do a session, and we can do by video, and then
Definitely.
some of the community can join you in a little workout, and I'm sure they will have lots of fun. As you can see, I'm looking like, yeah, can't wait.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, go. But no, but I hear you, and that's what I said. It's about us being honest with ourselves. When some people say certain things, and you're like, come on, mate. You haven't done anything for like
Do you know
months and
what,
weeks and
also,
stuff.
like, don't beat yourself up. I do not, and I'm really being honest here, I don't wake up every morning and I'm like, let me get to the gym. Like, on those days, I'm like, you know what? My mind, I'm not feeling it. Some days I push through it. And then once I get to the gym, I've got a right face on me. Then I get to the end of the workout and I'm like, oh, I was so silly. Or, then like, I'll do it at home. I know I want to do something. And it's not that you've got to exercise every single day. Before, again, our 70s and 80s babies were told, eat less, move more. That's not the case. We need to make sure we're fueling our bodies right, because not only are we trying to exercise and the rest of it, you're trying to get your body through menopause. That is a challenge within itself. It can be exhausting. So you need to make sure you're fueling yourself and you're not thinking, I'm going to starve and then I'm going to lose weight. It is a lot to do with weight, unfortunately. But, you have to fuel yourself properly so that you can still make those other choices. But it doesn't mean you've got to live in the gym 3 times a week, 30 minutes. Start where you're at, walking, yoga, definitely, and just think to yourself, move more, sit less. That's a better thing to think about.
Yeah. My
We,
sister used to always say to me, if you can take the lift, take the stairs. She used to say, it's just those little tweaks make such a big, big, big
especially for us,
difference.
the ladies that work at home, set a timer. Otherwise, you're stuck in front of that. Set a timer for, like, I don't know, every hour you're going to get up, just do 5 squats, or you're going to get up, just jog on the spot, or do a little dance. But sitting for long periods of time when you're in the menopause transition is probably one of the worst things you can do. So, there's so many ways. I'm always saying to my ladies, when you go to the loo, 5, obviously you've done your business, but 5 squats after you've been to the toilet, that's a perfect place to actually practice your squats because of the height of the toilet seat. If you live at the kettle like me, I'm always having a coffee or a herbal tea. Just jog on the spot or just move rather than just standing there. Most people are at the kettle, they're like this, standing there scrolling. A minute of the kettle boiling, just dance, move. Like, there's so
Oh, I
many.
love to dance. I tell everybody, I can dance and dance and dance. I love music. So to me, anything which is
That's important.
dance and music and all of that, you got me down. And you then, when I've got my watch on and it says, "Oh, you've done your," you see what I mean?
Yeah,
Really, really, it works. Like I'm like, yes, come on.
my
And
rings are
because
close.
I'm a little bit competitive. A
That's
little
good.
bit.
That's
But that's what I've had mine attached to my partners, and that makes me annoyed when I see their
yeah,
rings are closed. I'm like, right, I'm going to do something just so I close my ring. So I always say to people, whatever it is for you, I'm just a
yeah.
little competitive. I
No,
mean,
but
I'm sure
like,
my family will say that I'm a lot competitive. I told myself I'm a little
no,
competitive.
it's good. Like, I say to loads of people, why don't just, between your friends, you don't even have to have a watch. Just set yourselves a little WhatsApp group, and like, just pushing each other on. Have you done your steps
Yes,
today?
yes,
Go out for a walk. There's so many ways that you can still do things that isn't
yep,
just like,
I agree.
you've got to live in the gym, because I think that's what people think, like, oh, it's going to take up so much of my time. If you've got time to watch Netflix, you've got time to work out. I'm sorry, I know that
Exactly.
sounds really harsh, but it's true.
Yeah, yeah, no, we don't mind some harsh talking, Shakira. We don't mind some harsh talking.
I'm not
So
saying you've got to quit Netflix or other
well,
streaming channels.
before you leave us, let my listeners know where they can find you. So please plug. Where can we find you, Shakira?
Yes, if you want a bit of tough love, I am over on Instagram. So yes, Fitness with Shakira, you'll recognize my logo. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm not really on the X channel. I have got a thing there, but I've kind of given up on that. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm not that good with YouTube, but definitely Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. That's mainly where I hang out. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I've got a page, or you can find me as Shakira Taylor. So yes, I'm on all of the social media platforms, and like I say, I do keep it real, so to speak. But there's no tiptoeing around it, especially if you're suffering with symptoms. There is so much you can do. I know you can feel powerless at times, and I've definitely been there with the multiple symptoms I went through, but there is so much light at the end of the tunnel if you're willing to put the work in as well. We have to be honest. And like I said before, whether you're HRT or you're not, or you're this or you're that, generally for most women that suffer with symptoms, it's not just one thing, it's a multiple
Yes, it's
approach.
it's a bit
and,
more
and
complex than that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and support. You do need support. If you've got a partner, involve them in the conversation. Like my daughter's 20, she is like, I am so prepared for perimenopause now because she's been through it with me. She's been on the roller coaster, and sometimes I hear her and she's like, sounds like your mum might be in perimenopause. It's like people would have like me, and you can't do that. But she's like, no, I think she's, those symptoms, and we'd be out. She's like, that woman, I think she's going through it, isn't she's so
That's so
aware now.
funny. But you know what? That's why the platform myCaroline is so important,
Yeah,
because it was about me creating this platform, because you speak to so many women, and you say, oh, and then we have conversations and we feel supporting. It's about supporting each other. It's about sharing of information, which you've done with us. It's about, I'm not alone. And that's why I think having that support system, your tribe around you, is so
definitely.
important. So
And I
important.
think, sorry, one last thing I would say, don't be afraid to maybe find a new tribe. Because I know when I started perimenopause, my friends weren't at that stage of even wanting to discuss anything to do with menopause. So I actually found, so many women that I connected with on Instagram in particular, and we were supporting each other. So sometimes it's not to say you've got to get rid of your friends. And I think you did do a video about friendships, but sometimes it's, just finding people that are on a similar journey to you and actually want to discuss that, because you'd also be surprised the amount of women that don't want to talk about it as well. And we can't force them, can we? So
No,
it's
you
not to say
can't.
you've got to like get rid of a load of people in your
It,
life, but be open to new friendships and new people that could support you
yeah,
as
and bring different perspectives and experiences. So yeah, definitely hear you on that. So
well.
Shakira, Miss Busy, I'm so glad we finally got to have this
Yeah,
conversation. I know that all the sisters on the myCaroline platform really will enjoy listening to you, and I know we're going to have you back again, because we'll get some
definitely.
fitness going. Lord Jesus, yeah, we get something
You'll
going
be
and stuff
fine,
like that.
lady. We're doing some soca and some dancehall. That always
Yeah, there you
helps.
go. That's it. Woo! Some dancing. That's just up my street. So I want to wish you a good day.
You too.
And like I said, it's as I say, it's good to talk. Yeah, it's good
Definitely.
to talk and it's good to
Talking.
share. And thank you for being so open and sharing your experiences with us.
You're
And
welcome.
yes, and then as they say, until next time.
Yes, definitely. Enjoy the rest of Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah.
Bye.
All right then. You take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.